Welcome to Men's Health 365, where we give you the health information that could literally save your independence and your quality of life. I want to ask you something really important today, and I need you to be honest with yourself. If you're a man over 75, or if you're watching this for someone you love who's in that age group, answer me this. Do you genuinely believe that walking every day is enough to protect you from falling? Do you think that daily walk around the neighborhood is keeping you safe? I'm talking to men watching this from the United States, from Canada, the UK, Australia, India, and honestly everywhere in the world right now. Because this issue crosses all borders, and I'm here to tell you something that might shock you, might even upset you. Walking is not enough. Walking alone will not prevent the falls that could end your independence. Now, before you click away or get defensive, hear me out. I'm not saying walking is bad. I'm not telling you to stop walking. What I'm saying is that walking only does part of the job, and the part it doesn't do is the part that will land you in the emergency room with a broken hip or worse. Let me tell you about Martin Henderson. Martin was 77 years old, a retired architect from Portland, Oregon. Sharp mind, active guy, independent. And Martin walked 3 miles every single morning without fail. Rain or shine, he was out there. He was proud of that routine. He thought he was doing everything right. Then one afternoon, Martin was at home, just doing normal things around the house. He reached up to change a light bulb in his kitchen. Simple task, right? Something he'd done 1,000 times before. But as he stretched upward, he lost his balance. He fell backward, and he fractured his hip. When Martin came into my office 6 weeks after his surgery, the man was devastated. He looked at me with this confusion in his eyes and said, "I walked every single day. 3 miles. I was in good shape. How did this happen to me?" And I had to explain to him what I'm about to explain to you right now. Walking is a forward motion activity. You move straight ahead, one foot in front of the other. But here's the problem. According to research published in the Journal of Biomechanics, approximately 67% of falls in men over 75 don't happen while walking forward. They happen when you're turning around, when you're reaching to the side, when you're stepping backward, when you're moving in any direction except straight ahead. Your body needs what scientists call multiplanar strength and stability. That means your muscles, your balance system, your nervous system need to be trained to handle movement in all directions. Walking trains almost none of that. Walking trains forward movement, and that's it. There's a study from the University of Pittsburgh that followed 482 older adults for 3 years. They published their findings in the journal Gait and Posture. And what they found was eye-opening. Men who could walk fast, who had good walking speed, but who had poor lateral stability, they fell just as often as men who walked slowly. Walking speed wasn't protective. What mattered was stability in multiple directions. And here's something else that's going to concern you. After age 70, men lose what's called type 2 muscle fibers. These are your fast-twitch muscle fibers, the ones that produce rapid, powerful movements. These are the fibers you need when you trip on a rug and need to catch yourself instantly. These are the fibers that stabilize you when you lose your balance suddenly. And research shows we lose these fibers at a rate of about 3 to 4% every year after 70. Walking doesn't stimulate these fibers. Walking is slow, steady, rhythmic. It's great for your heart and your lungs, but it does almost nothing for your fast-twitch fibers. And that's a massive problem. If you're finding this information valuable, do me a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button below this video. We put out content like this every single week, specifically for men over 60 who want to stay strong, independent, and active. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Now let me get back to Martin's story because this is where things get better. I put Martin on a very specific exercise protocol. Not complicated, not requiring a gym membership, nothing fancy. Just 5 targeted exercises that address exactly what walking doesn't cover. And I'm going to teach you these 5 exercises in detail today. Within 12 weeks, Martin's results were remarkable. His timed up and go test, that's a standard test we use to measure functional mobility. His time improved from 14.2 seconds down to 9.8 seconds. His single leg stance time, which measures balance, went from just 4 seconds all the way up to 22 seconds. His Berg Balance Scale score, which measures overall balance and fall risk, jumped from 42 to 53. That moved him from moderate fall risk to low fall risk. But more than the numbers, Martin told me something really important. He said, "I feel stable again. I'm not afraid to move anymore. I'm not second-guessing every step I take." That confidence, that freedom from fear, that's what we're after here. So let me break down the 5 exercises that changed everything for Martin, and that can do the same for you or for someone you love. The first exercise is heel-to-toe walking with head turns. Now you might be thinking, wait, you just said walking isn't enough, and you're right. But this isn't regular walking. This is a highly targeted balance challenge. Here's how you do it. Stand near a wall or a sturdy countertop, something you can grab if you need to. You're going to place one foot directly in front of the other so your heel touches your toe. That's a very narrow base of support. Now, as you step forward in this heel-to-toe pattern, I want you to turn your head. Look over your right shoulder as you take one step. Look over your left shoulder as you take the next step. Keep alternating. Walk for 10 steps like this. Rest for a moment. Then repeat 2 more times, so you're doing 3 sets total. Now, why does this work? Research from the University of Maryland, published in the journal Age and Aging, found that when you add head turns to balance exercises, you increase something called vestibular stimulation by 34%. Your vestibular system is your inner ear balance system, and it degrades significantly as you age. By age 80, you've lost about 40% of the hair cells in your inner ear that control balance. When you combine that narrow base of support with head rotation, you're forcing your brain to integrate 3 different sensory systems all at once. Your vision, your inner ear balance, and your body position sense called proprioception. That's exactly what needs to happen when you're in a real-world situation where you might fall. A study published in the Journal of Neuroengineering and Rehabilitation followed 156 men over 75 for 16 weeks. The men who did head-turn balance exercises like this improved their ability to recover from unexpected trips and stumbles by 28%. That's the difference between catching yourself and hitting the ground. Martin started doing this every single day. Within 4 weeks, he could do 20 consecutive steps with head turns without even touching the wall. His confidence in crowded places, where there's a lot of visual information coming at you, improved dramatically. The second exercise is chair squats with a pause at the bottom. Now, this is not just standing up and sitting down. There's a very specific technique here that makes all the difference. Here's how you do it. Stand in front of a sturdy chair. Lower yourself down slowly, and I mean slowly. Take about 3 to 4 seconds to lower down. You're going to go down until you're just about to sit on the chair, but don't actually sit. Hold that position right there, hovering just above the seat for 3 full seconds. Then push yourself back up to standing. Rest for a moment, then repeat. Do 8 to 10 repetitions. Why is this so important? There's research published in the Journal of Applied Physiology that shows when you lower yourself down slowly like this, that's called an eccentric muscle contraction. It stimulates your type 2 muscle fibers way more effectively than just standing up. Those are the fast twitch fibers I mentioned earlier that you're losing 3 to 4% of every year. The pause at the bottom is critical because it eliminates momentum. You can't bounce out of the bottom position. Your muscles have to produce force from a mechanically disadvantaged position. And that's exactly what happens in real life when you need to stand up from a low toilet seat or a soft couch. McMaster University in Canada did a study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. Older adults who did pause squats 3 times a week for 12 weeks increased their quadriceps strength by 19% and improved their sit-to-stand performance by 22%. Functionally, this addresses one of the most common complaints I hear. Men tell me all the time, "I can't get up from low chairs anymore. I need to push with my arms every time." After 12 weeks of chair squats with pause, Martin's sit-to-stand time improved from 2.8 seconds down to 1.6 seconds. He could pop right up without using his hands at all. The third exercise is standing hip circles. This one specifically targets your hip stability and a muscle called your gluteus medius. Walking doesn't train this muscle adequately at all. Here's what you do. Stand behind a sturdy chair and hold onto the back of it lightly, just for a little balance support. Shift your weight onto your left leg. Lift your right knee up to about hip height. Now I want you to trace a circle with that knee. Move it forward first, then out to the side, then back behind you, then return to center. That's one circle. Do 8 circles in one direction, then 8 circles in the opposite direction, then switch legs and repeat the whole thing. Your gluteus medius is the primary muscle responsible for lateral hip stability. That means side-to-side stability. Research published in the Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation found that gluteus medius weakness is present in 73% of older adults who experience falls. 73%. That's massive. The reason this muscle gets weak is because walking primarily uses your gluteus maximus. That's the big muscle in your butt that propels you forward. The gluteus medius, which sits on the side of your hip, gets very little stimulation from walking, so it atrophies, it weakens. Standing hip circles in a weight-bearing position activate the gluteus medius 29% more than lying on your side and lifting your leg, according to research in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy. And the reason is because when you're standing, you're not just moving your hip, you're also stabilizing your pelvis at the same time. That's a much more functional movement pattern. The University of North Carolina did a clinical trial, published in Clinical Biomechanics. They followed 94 adults over 70 for 10 weeks. The group that did standing hip circles 3 times per week improved their lateral step-down test performance by 31% and reported 43% fewer near-fall incidents. Near falls are those scary moments where you almost go down, but catch yourself at the last second. When Martin started this exercise, he could barely lift his knee to hip height. He was wobbling all over the place, but by week 8, he could do 16 smooth, controlled circles on each leg without even holding onto the chair. The 4th exercise is an isometric wall push with single leg stance. This combines upper body strength with balance, and it's incredibly functional. Here's how you do it. Stand facing a wall, about 2 feet away from it. Place both of your palms flat on the wall at about shoulder height. Now lift your right foot off the ground, just an inch or 2, nothing crazy. While you're balancing on your left leg, push into the wall as hard as you comfortably can. Hold that push for 10 seconds. Rest, then switch legs and repeat. Do 3 sets on each side. This exercise addresses 2 critical problems at the same time. First, the isometric push activates your core, your shoulders, and your chest without requiring you to get down on the floor and do push-ups. A lot of men over 75 can't safely get down to the floor and back up, so this is a much more practical option. Second, the single leg stance component is one of the single best predictors of fall risk. There was a landmark study published in the British Medical Journal that followed over 1,300 adults over 70 for 13 years. The people who could not hold a single leg stance for at least 10 seconds had an 84% higher risk of death from any cause. 84%. That's not just about falls, that's about overall physical resilience. When you combine the wall push with the single leg stance, you create what researchers call a dual task scenario. Your brain has to coordinate upper body force production while maintaining lower body stability. Research from the University of Illinois, published in Neuroscience Letters, found that dual task training like this improved both executive function in the brain and physical balance simultaneously, reducing fall risk by 39% over 12 weeks. Martin's single leg stance time went from 4 seconds all the way up to 22 seconds after doing this exercise consistently. He also noticed he had better pushing strength when opening heavy doors, which was a functional benefit he didn't even expect. The 5th and final exercise is step back lunges, and you'll do these with assistance. This specifically trains backward movement control, which is one of the most neglected aspects of mobility. Here's the technique. Stand in front of a sturdy counter, or you can use a walker if you have one. Hold onto it lightly for balance. Step your right foot straight back about 2 feet, and lower your back knee down toward the ground in a controlled manner. You don't have to go all the way down to the floor, just lower as far as is comfortable for you. Then push through your front foot to return to standing. Do 8 repetitions on each leg. Why is this so critical? Research published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that men over 75 have 47% less strength during backward movements compared to forward movements. That's a huge deficit. And it's catastrophic because so many falls happen when you're stepping backward. You're backing away from a kitchen counter. You're stepping back to sit down in a chair. You're moving backward to avoid an obstacle. Step back lunges specifically strengthen your quadriceps in a lengthened position, and they train something called eccentric control of your knee and hip. A study at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, published in Clinical Rehabilitation, found that older adults who did assisted step-back lunges twice a week for 8 weeks improved their backward walking speed by 23% and reduced their timed up-and-go scores by 17%. Additionally, step-back lunges activate your core stabilizers significantly more than forward lunges. Research using electromyography, that's where they measure electrical activity in muscles, found 31% greater core activation during backward stepping compared to forward stepping. Your core has to work harder to keep you balanced when you're moving in an unfamiliar direction. Martin really struggled with this one at first. His backward steps were short and tentative, and he gripped that counter like his life depended on it. But by week 10, he was doing full-range step-back lunges with just minimal hand support. His confidence backing away from obstacles improved so much that he told me he no longer felt that moment of panic when he needed to step backward. Now let me tell you exactly what Martin did, so you can follow the same protocol. For the first 2 weeks, Martin performed each of these 5 exercises 3 days per week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He started with lower volume. Heel-to-toe walking, he did 3 sets of just 5 steps. Chair squats with pause, 3 sets of 5 reps. Standing hip circles, 2 sets of 5 circles in each direction. Wall push with single leg stance, 3 sets of 5 seconds on each leg. And step back lunges, 2 sets of 5 reps on each leg. He still walked every day. His 3-mile routine continued, but he added these targeted exercises on those 3 days. From week 3 to week 6, Martin gradually increased the volume. Heel-to-toe walking went up to 3 sets of 10 steps. Chair squats went to 3 sets of 8 reps, and he extended the pause to 5 seconds. Hip circles went to 3 sets of 8 circles each direction. Wall push went to 3 sets of 10 seconds each leg, and step-back lunges went to 3 sets of 8 reps each leg. From week 7 to week 12, Martin performed the exercises 4 days per week and increased the intensity even more. Heel-to-toe walking, 3 sets of 15 steps, and he added some arm movements to make it harder. Chair squats, 3 sets of 10 reps, and he started holding light weights. Hip circles, 3 sets of 10 circles, and he let go of the chair completely. Wall push, 3 sets of 15 seconds with more pushing force. And step back lunges, 3 sets of 10 reps with much less hand support. By week 12, all those objective measurements I mentioned earlier had improved dramatically. But more important than any number was what Martin said to me. I feel stable again. I'm not afraid to move anymore. Now, beyond these 5 exercises, let me give you a few additional recommendations based on the latest research for men over 75. First, get your vitamin D level checked. You want your serum vitamin D to be between 40 and 60 nanograms per milliliter. Research published in Osteoporosis International found that men over 75 with vitamin D levels above 40 had 33% fewer falls compared to men with levels below 30. Second, make sure you're eating enough protein. You need at least 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight every day. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Directors Association found that higher protein intake was directly associated with better maintenance of muscle mass and strength in men over 75. Third, get your vision checked every single year. Poor vision is a modifiable fall risk factor. Research in JAMA Ophthalmology found that getting proper vision correction reduced fall risk by 23%. Fourth, do a home safety assessment. Remove tripping hazards like loose rugs. Improve the lighting, especially in hallways and bathrooms. Install grab bars in your shower and next to the toilet. Research in Age and Aging found that environmental modifications like these reduce fall risk by about 40%. And fifth, wear supportive, non-slip shoes even when you're inside your house. A study in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that improper footwear contributed to 53% of falls in older adults. So here's your action plan. If you're a man over 75 or you're caring for someone who is, I want you to do this. First, perform a baseline assessment. Time yourself standing up from a chair 5 times without using your hands. If it takes you longer than 15 seconds, you're at elevated fall risk. Second, test your single leg stance time. Stand on one leg with your eyes open and see how long you can hold it. If you can't hold it for at least 10 seconds, your balance needs immediate attention. Third, start the 5 exercises I outlined today. Begin conservatively, 3 days per week, lower repetitions. Progress gradually over 12 weeks, just like Martin did. Fourth, keep walking. Don't stop your walking routine. It's valuable cardiovascular exercise, but recognize that it's not comprehensive fall prevention. You need both. Fifth, track your progress objectively. Retest your 5 times sit to stand and your single leg stance every 4 weeks. You should see measurable improvements. And sixth, consider working with a physical therapist initially, especially if you've had previous falls or you have significant balance issues. A physical therapist can give you personalized modifications and make sure you're doing everything safely. Listen, walking is excellent exercise. I encourage every man over 75 to walk daily if you're able to. But walking alone will not protect you from the functional declines that lead to falls, fractures, and loss of independence. The 5 exercises I shared with you today address what walking cannot: multi-directional stability, rapid force production, eccentric strength, hip stability, reactive balance. These are the physical capacities that fail first after 75, and these are the capacities that determine whether you stay independent or not. Martin Henderson is now 79 years old. He still walks his 3 miles most mornings, but he also does these 5 exercises 4 days every single week without fail. He's had 0 falls since his hip fracture 4 years ago. He travels independently. He plays with his grandchildren. He maintains the active lifestyle that he values. You can do the exact same thing. The research is crystal clear. The exercises are straightforward and don't require expensive equipment or a gym membership. The only question now is whether you'll actually implement them. If you found this information valuable, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, maybe a family member or a friend who's over 75. And make sure you're subscribed to Men's Health 365 because we put out content like this every single week designed specifically to help men over 60 stay strong, independent, and living life on their terms. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.